Well, we started back on the cantaloupes and they're really big. We got about 5.5 bins. There you go. All right, well, welcome back. This week we're picking a few cantaloupes and a few watermelons. The watermelons really hadn't got into full swing yet, but we're picking a few and doing some watering. You can see behind me, we're watering these last peas that are about to be ready. Okay, we got 2 holes in every other middle. And this is my number 8 planting of 8 out of 8. So this is the last field of purple holes. And they'll be ready pretty soon, but we're gonna give them one last drink of water before we get out here and start picking. Because it is really hot right now. It's 100 to 102 every day with a heat index of about 110. So it's not gonna hurt them at all to give them a drink. All right, this is the field planting number 7 that we just finished picking. You can see that there's not much left. There's always going to be a few here and there, and maybe some that dried up, but all these little places like this were, had pods on them at one time. They've all been picked off, but you never get all of them. On the peas, you can get a machine harvester that will go through there one time and get them all, but you'd have to time it perfect, and you'd still have a lot of immatures, and you'd have some dried ones, and then you got to go through and separate all that out. And by the time you do all that, you might as well hand pick them. That's just my opinion. When you're hand picking them and they bring them in out of the field, you know exactly what you got. Peas ready to go, no dried ones, no immatures. Plus, it doesn't tie up a tractor. You can hand pick when it's wet, etc. So I'm not saying I would never do the machine pick. I've tried it before, used the machine, I didn't like it. So that's how we pick the peas, just hand picking them. All right, this is the red watermelons. There's a few ready, like I said, but we haven't picked very many. They're very scattered. We're going through here and just getting a little bit. And then hopefully by next week, we'll be able to load up multiple trailers a day. They're all different sizes. Ones we pulled out of here, though, have been pretty big. See a few down in there. There's one there. More right there. The vines are nice and healthy. We watered them about a week ago. I'd love to not have to water them again, but we'll see. It holds up moisture pretty good under there when the vines are so thick, that it can't evaporate as much. The sun doesn't beat down on the bare dirt, so that helps. We're still pulling a few weeds out here, but the field is pretty clean, so I'm happy with that. We're gonna wait until we really get going on the watermelon harvest to do a watermelon video. So I think on this video, I'm just gonna hit a few highlights of what we're doing this week with some irrigation and cantaloupes picking and pea picking and stuff like that. And then when we really get going, like I said, on the watermelons, I'll get out here on the trailer, ride with the guys, do some filming, and maybe get my drone out and do some of that. Since my pea pickers don't have any peas to pick for a couple of days, we're waiting on that last field to get ready. You can see I'm way down there. They're pulling weeds in my sweet potatoes. So we may work on this for a day or two. We'll go over the potatoes one more time. They're generally clean. Got a few pigweed spots in the middle and on that lower end. Other than that, they're not too bad. These potatoes will be 100 days old on September the 9th. I usually cut the vines from 100 to 105 days. So after Labor Day, we'll start checking the potatoes pretty good, digging them up. You know, they're not ready yet. That noise you heard in the background was got a leak right here in the poly pipe on the potatoes. But I'm not too worried about it. It's not too bad. We watered them last week and we may water them one more time. Same way with the watermelons. The vine coverage is so good on these potatoes. When you water them for irrigation, the moisture holds pretty good under there, so you don't have to just water them constantly. So we'll have a whole video probably on the leading up to the potato harvest, what we do, and then one on the potato harvest also. It's pretty interesting for those that are not familiar with it, but that'll be mid-September or a little after. All right, pretty much my day now that we're over to the public just consists of different odd jobs. I've been doing cleaning up. I cleaned up all the field where we're gonna have the greens. That took multiple trips. I sprayed the plastic mulch, everything except for those first watermelons that are gonna make some more, which if you've watched my videos, you know about that. In fact, we may even try to pick a few out of there this afternoon. Tomorrow I'm gonna cut down the number 7 planting of peas. So I've always got kind of cleaning up behind as we progress, and then kind of getting ready for up and coming things. Whenever maybe it gets to around the end of the month, Labor Day or so, I'll start gearing up more towards the potato harvest and getting out all my bins and moving them outside and that kind of stuff. So it's not too stressful for me right now, but there's always things to do. A lot of these cornfields right here in our neck of the woods have already been combined. It's the 15th of August. They probably started a week ago. Just a little tidbit for those maybe watching in other parts of the country. This guy's headed to East Texas to sell them. All right, this is one of my pea fields where we plant the mustard, turnip, and collard greens. And I've cut them down and plowed it up and re-hipped it and rolled it. Now we're pre-watering it with the poly pipe. Got some long rows. We got to get it all the way down to the end and soak all these beds real good. What I'm trying to do here is I want all the volunteer peas that were left on the plant and shattered to sprout, because they will sprout as soon as they get some moisture. And so I'm wanting them to sprout before I get the greens planted. That way they can come up and I can spray them, kill them, and then I'll plant the greens right into that. Because if they're competing with the greens coming up at the same time, I don't have any way to kill them. And so that's what we're doing. And then once we get the greens planted, we'll probably water it again to make sure they all come up uniformly. But just poly pipe water runs from a big well. It's just a 12-inch poly. Got the holes punched in every row. You can see it's kind of got foam. It kind of foams like that, but got water almost all the way down. We'll probably let it run to the end of the day. Got the water off last night on the greens where I was pre-watering, so we're back out here and I'll show you what it looks like. Well, you can't tell a whole lot, but that is wet. Wet. Everything was freshly, almost powder, sandy loam, worked up. It's dry, it's hot. After you work it up a few times, not any moisture left. So it was kind of soft. So it takes that water longer to get to the end. Actually, I think we let it run maybe, trying to remember what time we turned it on. Anyway, it was more than 24 hours because it was so soft. Normally it doesn't take that long. But these peas will germinate now really fast, and today's Thursday. Probably for sure by Monday, it'll be a sea of green out there, just little peas coming up. And then as soon as they're big enough, I'll spray them. If you spray them too early when they're in that cotyledon stage, it doesn't kill them that good. In fact, I'm not gonna walk out there because it's muddy, but I see two coming up right there. This works really well on the greens though, because as I said yesterday when I was filming, I have no way to control the volunteer peas when they come up amongst the greens when I plant them. And it's always so dry this time of year, and it'd been perfect if it would have rained, you know, in the last couple of days. I wouldn't have to water, but you can't count on that. So I need to get them sprouted and up as soon as possible. I like to have the greens planted by the 3rd week of August. I'm probably gonna be a little bit late because it's already the 15th, because I like to have them ready by the 1st of October. That's about the time we open back up to the public and start selling our sweet potatoes. That way people can do both. They can come pick greens and pick up sweet potatoes. It usually takes the greens about 6 weeks from the time I plant them to the time they're ready. So we'll be out here as soon as possible, get them sprayed, and I'll probably spray them one day and plant them the next. And that foam you saw yesterday, that foam, I couldn't really get out there because I didn't have my boots on, but when the ground is soft and you water like that and it soaks it, it'll make that foam in that water. It looks kind of funny, but like when you just saw on my peas when I was watering, that ground was sealed off, you know, after a rain, and it's not gonna foam like that. It only foams usually when it's fresh, soft dirt. You know, when I say I can't control the peas, I will cultivate them, the greens, but it's only gonna get what's in the middles. You know, it won't get that on top of the rows, so that's why I have to get them to come up so I can spray them. Because, you know, the pea seed will be broadcast in the middles, on the top of the bed, everywhere. So it's a little bit of trouble to do all this, but I can promise you it's worth it, because back in the old days we didn't do this and we had lots of trouble with peas coming up everywhere.
35.
These right here, these darker green ones that are a little more round, those are the yellows. So just getting a few yellows and a few red every day, not a lot yet. Okay, we're on the lower end of those peas, and you can obviously tell the water got to the end, so I'm fixing to go cut it off. Okay, now I'm out here in the old watermelons that are making new ones. We're scrounging around getting a few, and they actually look pretty decent. And I was thinking maybe just one time over, but I think we can come back next week and get some more. The vines don't look that great. It's a little weedy, but there's watermelons here. These are some that they've put on the drive row here, so they're pretty decent size. Tell by my foot there. So they're all the way down on the other end, but we'll get a few out of here. Whatever we're getting is just a bonus, because I have literally not done anything to these after we plowed them up other than keep them watered on the drip tape every day, and that's it. Got a lot of little ones like this that I think will probably be ready next week. Some of these white looking ones are some of the old ones originally, but we'll see. No fungicide, no insecticide, no nothing, just water. And if you go back and look at a month ago on my videos, you'll be able to tell what they look like after we plowed them up before they started putting back on new vines. All right, here's a view from the levee. I got some of the old watermelons here. These are some of the tomato and pepper rows that we've cleaned up and sprayed. All right, we've left those watermelons, and then everything all back down in here. It's been sprayed, and then we will pull up that plastic probably when we get through harvesting that last field of peas. My guys will need something to do before we plant cabbage and before we harvest sweet potatoes, so I'll get them out here and clean all this up. We won't leave these too long. We'll go over them maybe twice, the old melons, and then we'll go ahead and get that cleaned up too, because a lot of my help is leaving after sweet potato harvest is over, so got to get all this cleaned up. Well, fast forward to the next day. I'm in the 7120 tractor here this morning, and I'm cutting down the number 7 planting of peas. I think the windshield's so dirty there on the back you probably couldn't even see out, but that's what I'm doing here this morning. And we're gonna hopefully get some fertilizer out this afternoon on my cabbage ground where I'm gonna put it. So we'll show you that when we get to it. These pea vines are so tough. I got my 4-row stalk cutter on, and they're so thick and just tough to cut. A lot of times I'll go over the field twice just to make sure it's cut up good. All finished. All right, I'm back at the shop and got the fertilizer buggy hooked up. We're headed to the cabbage field. Okay, fertilizer is slinging out. We're putting out N, P, and K. This was where my number 5 planting of purple hulls was. We've got it plowed up, and I'm putting out the fertilizer before I run the hipper and the roller. And then we'll probably have to pre-water like we did on the greens, get the peas to come up. I'm not in quite a big a hurry on this as I am on the greens, but we'll probably get the water on next week. Got the hipper on now, and you can see how dry and dusty it is. Can't even see it back there. You know it's dusty when the roller kicks up a bunch of dust, because all it's doing is just pressing down the top of those rows. Can't see nothing back there. All right, just like the greens, we will water it, spray it, plant it, and water it. We won't disturb the beds anymore. Now, because we're transplanting the cabbage versus putting out seed on the greens, it's possible that I might water that second time right before we plant instead of right after. We'll have to see what the conditions are. All right, it's the end of the week, and I've changed my mind. I think I am going to water these watermelons and cantaloupes. Our local news had 103 for a high today, 104 for tomorrow. But the clouds, you can see, are kind of building, so maybe it won't hit 103. But it's easier for us to water on Saturdays. Once we're out of here, we knock off at noon on Saturdays. That way it gives it a little bit to dry up before we get back out here Monday morning. So I didn't want to have to wait till next weekend in case I needed to water, because it's so hot and it's getting a little hotter. So better safe than sorry. So I'm going to go ahead and water them. I changed my mind. We put 2 holes on one side of the row where the actual plant is planted. Instead of putting 1 hole on each side of the row, that makes it go down faster. Keeps them from waterlogging them. Normally we water them probably 3 times in August. I was just hoping maybe not to have to do it anymore. Just because sometimes you can put a little bit too much water, especially when we're pushing this much water down the row. But as hot as it is, it dries it up fast, even though it's shaded. I talked about it being shaded, but that helps. But that's just so hot, and it just sucks it out of those leaves. So if we have to do it once a week, we will. So we're going to wrap up the video here. I didn't get any pea pickers on there actually picking peas, because we're still going to wait for that next field to be ready. It may be ready Monday. I'll try to get some video of the guys actually picking the peas and how much those big sacks weigh and all that when we bring them in. I'll throw that in with the watermelon video when we start on that. So anyway, I hope y'all enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to us if you have not. See y'all next time.